This is Yarin Cohen with World Prog-Nation, and today we have one of my favorite artists, Arjen Lucassen, here to talk about his upcoming album, The Source. So Arjen, how are you?
I'm fine, especially after your big compliment there. So
Awesome. So if it's okay, we'll just start off the interview?
Sure, man, go for it.
Great. So let's talk about the album. How long did the songwriting process take?
I think I did the whole thing in about a year. But when I say a year, it's 365 days, you know, because
Yeah,
I don't have holidays, I don't have weekends, you know, I just keep working every day and I'm like really concentrated. I do nothing else, no other
really?
projects. I can do that. I have no job, you know, I
Yeah.
haven't worked an honest day in my life. I have no family, I have no kids. But I keep my evenings free, you know. My evenings are holy. That's when I
No, I get
wanna
it. Yeah,
wanna watch
exactly.
some TV and relax a little bit, you know. Watching The Walking Dead right now. So
Really?
yeah, I
What are
love
your
that stuff.
thoughts about the last season so far?
I
Without
have three
spoiler
more.
alerts, you know, for
I have three more episodes to go. They warned me about the first episode. They were like, "It's really heavy, man. It's really heavy. It's terrible. It's the most aggressive ever." And I was like, "Oh my God!" But it was okay. It was a good episode. And
awesome.
you know, like as always, there are a couple of weak episodes where you're like, hmm.
Yeah.
But I love that it's about people. It's really not about zombies. You know, it's really about how bad people can be. You know, especially when there's no more rules. And yeah, I like it.
Do you draw sometimes, you know, you draw inspiration from those kind of things, those kind of shows?
Maybe unconsciously, yeah. I could, of course. I think everything you experience, you know, music or films or TV, you know, everything
Yeah.
has influence and inspires you.
Awesome. Okay, well, it's always interesting knowing how different artists approach writing a concept album.
Hmm.
Usually the music comes before the lyrics, so when writing
Yes.
the music for a song, do you already know what the specific song is going to be about? Or do you write the
No idea.
music and later match each song to a part of the story?
Right, that's the way it goes. I start with a little idea. It's just a guitar. It could be a chord, it could be a melody, it could be a riff, or a vocal melody or whatever. And I just gather all these little ideas. It's usually it's in a couple of months. It's about 50 little ideas.
Wow.
At that point, I have no idea what the project is going to be. So let alone what the story is going to be or what
Yeah.
the singer is going to be. So at some point, you know, the project starts developing itself. I can say like, okay, you know, this looks like an Ayreon. At that point, I let the music inspire me to come up with a story.
Mm-hmm.
Once I've got the music and the story, I go looking for singers. That's the next step. I have a wish list of like 100 singers or something. Really, really, yeah, it's huge.
Wow.
And then I pick the singers that I think fit the concept and fit the music. Once these singers have confirmed, in this case
Mm-hmm.
there were 11,
Yeah.
I divide them over the album, and then the very last step is to write lyrics. And I
Oh, wow.
basically I choose the characters on the singers,
Mm-hmm.
based on the singers, and I also write the melody lines and the lyrics also based on the singers.
On
So
the
on the
vocal range and stuff like that?
right, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like when I write something for Mike Mills, you know, who
Yeah,
can sing incredibly high, like the
definitely.
high B5, you know. It's like I can write high stuff, you know. But on
Unbelievable,
the
yeah.
other hand, you know, when James LeBrie sings with his warm, deep voice, you know, I okay, let's this is a beautiful, warm intro, you know. That's where I need James.
Yeah.
So that's basically how I divide it.
Yeah, I was just about to talk about it that you decided to cast James LeBrie to a more warm, deep voice and not the high superpower roles, you know, and that was a really nice surprise because his deep voice is something that not a lot of people appreciate or get a chance to hear, and I think he really shines on
Okay,
this
yeah.
album.
Well, it's beautiful, you know. I heard it on Metropolis, I think on a live DVD, and it was like, oh my God, you know, he's got such a wonderful voice, and
Yeah,
I really needed this singer to start one of the songs. No, to sing the intro of a lot of the
yeah,
songs,
yeah,
and this warm, kind of like someone who introduces you to the story, and he's putting so much emotion in his voice, so that worked
amazing.
perfect.
Definitely. What I was wondering about is, what if there isn't enough sad or happy moments in the music? How do you need to adjust the plot in according to the different songs because of that?
Good question. I really, the music guides the story. So if there's not a lot of happy parts in the music, the story won't be so happy. So it's really, if I have this really dark, deep part, automatically I'm gonna write lyrics that are like more sad. But having said that, I like contrast. For instance, the song "Everybody Dies" is kind of like a happy song, It's like and then you suddenly get like everybody dies, and it's a big contrast, and I like that. I think if you do a contrast, it comes across even heavier. I compare it with like the clown in Stephen King stories. It's this happy clown with a big smile, but you already know, like, oh my God, something is wrong with that guy.
Definitely, yeah. That's exactly what I thought when I heard that song.
Right. Yes.
Well, I know that this time around you actually asked the fans on Facebook which singers they would like to hear to be featured on the album.
Right.
So my question is, do you sometimes struggle between focusing on and fulfilling your own hopes and expectations of what the music should be versus those expectations of the fans?
No, I make a combination. I think it's great to make a combination of that. I know some musicians say, "Oh, I don't care what the fans say. I'll do what I want," which is perfect, which is their good right, and they can be successful with that. For me, it's very important that the people like what I do, that the fans like what I do. It inspires me, if I get a mail, people often ask what inspires you. Well, it's when I get a mail from people saying that my music changed their lives, or they were really depressed and they heard my music and they were doing fine again, and
awesome.
That inspires me. So yeah, it is important for me that people like what I do. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't do it. I think if I would be alone in the world, if I would be in an apocalyptic zombie world, to get back to The Walking Dead, I would not be recording albums. I would not be composing songs. No, I wouldn't do it. Yeah. So yeah, I really do care what the fans say and what the fans think, and awesome. So that's why I'm very much in contact with them. Having said that, I would never pick a singer that I don't like just because he's very popular with the fans. Do that. In the first instance, of course, I have to like the singer, and I have to like. I have to be 100% behind what I do.
And do you always get connected with the singer's creative work, or do you just look for the great voice?
Good question again. I look for the voice. I look for the voice. The sound of the voice is what's important for me. Okay. So I don't care if someone is technically brilliant, or if someone can sing high, or if someone, has great technique. I don't care. It's the sound of the voice that I love. Awesome. And because there are singers that are technically brilliant, they're the best singers in the world, but I don't like their voice, so I would never ask them.
I know that this time, last album, you got extra creative help from Laurie. Is this the case with this one too?
Always, yeah. Not as much as The Theory of Everything, because there we really came up with the story. We talked about the story like every day, and we developed the story together. Yeah. And then I wrote the lyrics, sent them to her, and she completely changed it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because she is American, and she is an English teacher, so she's way better. Yeah, she's way better. She has her own website, where she teaches English. So she's very creative. So she's much better than that than I am. So Theory of Everything, it was really a 50-50% thing.
Okay, so this one less.
This time she's a bit more on the background. She She didn't change every word of the lyrics. She did change a lot, but
Okay.
she still kept some of the original things.
Awesome. Okay.
and
That's
and
great to
she
know.
she never wants recognition. She's never looking for. It's like, shall I mention in the lyrics? You want to
Yeah.
share it? No, no, no. Really, it's not necessary.
Oh, really? Wow, okay. I read that you initially thought this was going to be a Star One album because of all the heavy parts and the guitar orientation of the album.
Yeah.
At which point of the writing process did you decide that, okay, this is more suitable to be an Ayreon album?
I think it's when the folky parts came in,
Uh,
because folk has no place in Star One.
I
No,
get it.
I see it like Ayreon is my mothership,
Mm-hmm.
and it has all the styles of music. And when I do a side project, I pick out one of these styles and I focus on that. Like for Gentle Storm, I took out the folk
Yeah.
of Ayreon, focused on that. With Star One, I pick out the metal, focus on that. Because the moment I start putting folk into Star One, it just becomes an Ayreon,
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
so
I
that's
see what you
basically
mean.
how it works. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Is your writing style affected by new music? I mean, what do you think about the current prog scene these days? It's pretty hard to be successful as a prog artist today.
Well, I don't know. I think it's pretty healthy. No, it's pretty healthy. I mean, it's hard to sell albums, that
Yeah,
definitely.
that's what I mean. It's hard.
But yeah, it's especially for a new band.
Yeah.
I'm lucky. I'm lucky. I come from a time of before downloading, before computers, where people were still buying my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they have my stuff. They want their collection complete.
Yeah.
They still buy my things, and they know I always spoil them. They know I give like great artwork, 48 pages of lyrics and
Yeah.
extra DVD with behind the scenes, and but for a new band, it's of course it's also a lot of investment to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so much on offer now, and there's so many new bands going on that
Yeah.
it's really hard to get attention. But I think the really good ones will stand out and
Yeah.
and will. Yeah,
Anything you
yeah.
heard recently that you think is worth mentioning?
Well, plenty of stuff. I listen to. I'm subscribed to a lot of magazines,
Oh,
and
really?
I always write down like the stuff that they rave about. If I don't know, a few weeks ago it was Avenged Sevenfold. It's like, okay, I
Oh,
thought that
really?
was like I thought that was like a noise band, with screaming and shit. So I listened to it and I was like, oh wait, this is cool. And same with
Awesome.
Mastodon. Mastodon sounds like aggressive monsters. And then I listened to the last album. It's like, whoa, that's good songs.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I try to keep updated very much. I don't understand these musicians who say I don't listen to music because I don't want to be influenced.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, please influence me.
Yeah, I think it's really important to keep up and with the
Yeah,
current
yeah, and
style. It definitely
yeah,
helps you.
yeah. I shouldn't, of course, I shouldn't copy it, or try to
Yeah,
copy it. But yeah, to be inspired by it, to be influenced by it,
definitely.
it's only good.
Okay. So, to tell you the truth, I was pretty sad when you said you weren't coming back to finish the story of the theory of everything. Can we please at least know how the story really ends, or what's the meaning of
Well,
the end, or something like that?
that's exactly the thing. We had this very ambiguous ending.
Yeah.
I see it kind of like a ghost story. Was it a ghost? Was it? And then the fans started fantasizing about it, and
Mm-hmm.
there was all these threads and web pages and people.
I know I was a part of that.
Okay, cool. And I loved it so much, and most of the stuff was like way better than I had.
I get what you mean.
So I was like, let's leave it at this. I like this way more, that people are guessing at the end. Once you give the ending, it's like, oh, so that's the ending, and then it's over.
Yeah, I
And
get what you
and
mean.
and also No, I love the ambiguousness of the ending. It's the same with movies like 2001. I don't know if you saw it. It's like a really old bastard movie of the
Yeah.
60s. The
So
ending is so weird. It's so strange. But
definitely.
it's finished, and you're just thinking about it. So what would it mean? And you have to give the people something. If you give them nothing, I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of bands who say this is a concept album. It's like, really? I don't get it. What's the concept about? I want to make it easy for the people, but I also want them to leave them with some questions that they can
Yeah.
think about. I like that with a movie. If it's a movie, just a feel-good movie, everything ends well, and it's over and you forget about it. But if it's a movie like a really interesting ending, and what did they mean, and it keeps you thinking a bit, and I prefer that. So I was thinking about doing a sequel, and I wrote several options for it, but I decided not to.
So you're not coming back ever to this story.
I'm not going to say that, because I said that when I finished Zero One that I would
Yeah.
never go back to the
Actually,
Forever
you
story.
slipped in for now. when you finished the
Yeah.
album.
No, I completely lied, and I'm not gonna lie again.
Okay, I get it. Yeah. When you released the Theory of Everything, you actually said that you needed to start a new story because you felt the fans can have a hard time keeping up with the classic Ayreon saga.
Yeah.
Is that why this time you decided to go back to the very beginning of the story?
Exactly. I think that justifies it, because you can start here. It's the source of mankind, it's the source of forever. This is the place you can start. So this is where the story begins. And you don't have, it's cool when you have pre-knowledge, if you know, like, if he's singing "I see a castle in space," that could be the Electric Castle,
Yeah.
it's when you know that, but it's not really necessary. It's really a story that starts here, and it won't alienate people who don't know my previous albums. That's basically important.
Something I always wondered about when you write the sci-fi stories, you always try to add some sort of supernatural element to it, like for instance, this album with the Prophet, or last album definitely something supernatural, or Zero One with with the dreams that the humans are having, that the
Right. Yeah, the waking dreams.
yeah. So is that a conscious decision or something that slips through every time?
I've always, as a kid, already loved that movies where there was something supernatural. Sometimes you went to one of these movies and it was explained at the ending, and I hated it. I wanted there to be a supernatural ending, something that we didn't understand. Again, an ambiguous ending. And I loved stuff like The Omen, which was a great horror movie with about these demons and prophecies in the Bible that came true, and oh man, I love that so much, the supernatural fact, which is weird because as a person I'm totally sober and I don't believe in supernatural stuff at all.
Oh, okay.
I don't even believe in aliens.
Really?
I know I'm weird. I'm totally a realistic.
That's a scoop.
Yeah, I'm really a science guy. I
Okay.
really believe in science, but I love turning science into fiction myself, and I love just fantasizing about it. And but yeah, it's a real contrast. But I'm full of contrast, so
Yeah. Well, that's a part of it, definitely.
yeah.
Another question that I was always wondering about is that some of the singers on this album and previous albums already appeared on the Ayreon project. So is there any connection between the different characters that they are portraying, like reincarnation or something like that?
Well, of course, it's. I'm referring here to the source of mankind and the source of forever. So, if this is the source, everything is connected. I mean, if these people who leave planet Alpha and they become an aquatic race on planet Y, like Hansi, like Floor, who are involved in Zero One.
Yeah.
They could be the same person. They could be the ancestors, but definitely these are all our ancestors. So so everything is automatically connected. It's all the same DNA.
Yeah.
It's even the same DNA that went on the comet from planet Y to Earth. That mixed
that's really
our
cool.
DNA.
It really connects the story.
Yeah, I love it when there's connection. Again, something that goes back to movies. I always loved when there was connections between movies and you recognized it. Like, oh yeah, okay, so that's from that movie. Yeah.
I get it. So can we go as far as saying that James Labrie, who was playing me in The Human Equation, is somehow connected to maybe the historian from the source?
Well, I could say yes, but I would be lying.
Okay.
Basically, the Human Equation was just a computer program, basically.
Yeah.
So basically, the me character never existed.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I get
So, but yeah, you can draw comparisons, and I could,
That's why fans are awesome. They're always
yeah,
interpreting
it's
your
cool.
work.
Yeah, it's cool. And like you say that now, and it's like, that's cool. I wish I thought of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. When writing these sci-fi stories, do you use your own vision and how the future is going to be like, or something like that?
No, not at all. No, I think that the future.
Like with the computers and everything.
I always laugh when I see science fiction movies, and it's these really wide open spaces, and everything is clean and big, and that's not the future. The future is going to be a big mess. The future is going to be Blade Runner. It's going to be dark and dirty and rainy and way too many people and no space at all. That's what that. Yeah, no, the future is not. I don't see it very rosy, to be honest. Mm-hmm. But then again, these are not my predictions. It's not like I know that the technical singularity will happen in like 30 years, where machines are more.
I also think that
it's a fact, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think people will let it come as far as what happens on Planet Y on the source, where the mainframe is completely taken over, has total control over people, and just turns down the life support systems, and it's over for people. Mm-hmm. I don't think we're pretty stupid, but I don't think we're that.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. Okay, so let's talk about the Ayreon universe.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about why did you finally decide to play a show dedicated entirely to Ayreon music?
Yeah, the catalyst for that was the theater equation, which was the theater production of the Human Equation, and just the reactions of the people. I was behind the stage and looking into the audience, and I saw people smiling, I saw people crying, and it was such an emotional 4 days. And that's when I went to the keyboard player Joost. Said, "Shall we set up, a best of Ayreon or something, like a real Ayreon rock show? Because I think it needs to be done, if only once." Awesome. So we went to the venue and we talked about it, and they said, "Well, you can easily fill it twice." We were like, "Twice is 6,000 people." And he said, "Yeah, and even an option for a third one." And we were like, "Ha ha." And then we started the pre-sales of the tickets, and within an hour the first show was gone, and with 2 hours the second show was gone, and we were like, "Okay, well, let's add the third one," which was gone later that day, which is great because it allows us to put more time and money into the show, So we're gonna it's gonna be a big thing. We're gonna play at least 2 songs of each album.
Oh wow.
And there's going to be a lot of effects and stuff, and of course 16 singers.
Amazing. Do we know the identity of the singers, or?
Yeah. It's all on the Ayreon website.
Awesome. So, was it a logistic nightmare to get them all into one place for 3 days?
Oh yes, and we had to do that 1.5 years ago. We knew we had to start early. We knew it would take 2 years to get this together, and that's the only way. They have to keep their agenda free. Of course, they have to say like, okay, if you ask now, it's like, oh, I can't do it then, But
Yeah.
if you're well in advance, and then they will keep it free, that's the only way to do it.
Awesome. Okay, so 2 final questions. One is, what do you think the future holds for Ayreon?
Well, to be honest, after the Theory of Everything, it sold less than the album before that, and I was like, is this the end? Are people sick of it now, or are people not buying albums anymore? But then with this album, weird shit is happening. It's the pre-sales are the best ever. Editions are already sold out. It's becoming album of the month, I think, in 8 magazines now.
Wow.
Front covers and stuff.
Definitely deserves it.
Thank you, man. Well, at this point, I'm like, the future looks very promising for Ayreon.
Awesome. And last but not least, do you have anything to say to your World Prog-Nation fans?
Well, yeah. What can I say? I mean, I hope you guys will like the album, because it's important for me. And let me know. I'm very approachable via Facebook, or on my website, or my email. And even if you hate it, let me know. Yeah, I learn from everything, and I just hope I've been able to offer you guys like 80 minutes of escapism, into another world, and just dream away.
Amazing. Well, Arjen, thank you very, very, very much for taking the time to talk to us.
My
I can't
pleasure.
wait for the album to come out worldwide so everyone will be able to check it out. And have a great day. Thank you so much.
Great, Yarin.
You have all been chosen for the skills and